when are you going to give me a grandson? I gripped my fork and knife, my fingers turning slightly white, staring at Harold across the table. His leaning posture and piercing gaze froze the air between us. Daniel fidgeted nervously with the tablecloth beside me, wanting to speak but stifled by his father's presence. Little Lily curled up on my lap, her eyes fixed on Harold, her brows slightly furrowed, as if trying to understand why her grandfather's gaze was filled with cold distance. Harold lifted his chin and said coldly, "The Brennan family bloodline needs to continue. Don't disappoint us." I took a deep breath, forcing a smile and putting down my cutlery, but inside, it felt like I was being pierced by needles. Patricia leaned over softly and whispered, "Don't mind him." I went through the same thing, until I had Tyler. I nodded, knowing her words were not just a reminder but a warning. Tonight's dinner was only the beginning of a long torment. From that moment on, I silently recorded every humiliation, every text message, every sneer. 7 years of belittlement were all etched in my memory, all documented. Now, the opportunity had finally arrived. I would make Harold see that his arrogance and coldness would eventually rebound like a blade. I still remember the first time I met Harold at Daniel's family summer barbecue. He shook my hand with a smile and said, "I hope you're good at having boys." I thought it was a joke. Daniel laughed nervously and gestured for me to relax, but a chill ran down my spine. At our wedding, his toast was suffocating. "Here's to Daniel and Sarah having many sons to carry on the Brennan name." He raised his champagne glass, his eyes sharp on me, as if inspecting whether I was worthy. Daniel seemed uneasy, wanting to explain, but was silenced by that gaze. In that moment, I knew the rift between us could never be mended. When Lily was born, I was full of joy, but Harold's presence froze the hospital room. He looked at the pink balloons and gifts and said coldly, "Practice makes perfect." He didn't hold the baby, only stood by the bedside with a gift box in hand, as if showcasing my failure. Daniel stood silently beside me, a trace of helplessness in his eyes. I held Lily's little hand tightly, secretly noting this moment. When Rose was born, he didn't even come to the hospital, only sending a text, "Tell me when there's the real news." I took a screenshot and saved it in a folder labeled Evidence. 7 years of neglect and humiliation had not been forgotten. Every holiday, family gathering, and child's birthday, Harold found ways to humiliate me. On Lily's 7th birthday, he brought a baseball glove with no interest in her, loudly explaining, "This is for when you have a son to practice with." The confusion and disappointment flashed in my child's eyes. Whispering, she asked, "Mom, does he not like me?" I crouched and held her. "Of course he likes you, he just doesn't know how to show it." At that moment, I vowed silently, these 7 years of humiliation would not go to waste. Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, Harold always found a way to mock us. On Christmas Eve, he gave Lily a train set and said, "Wait until you have a son to play with it." Lily held the set quietly. I patted her back, mentally recording everything. Emma's dance recitals, he never attended, nor did he call to ask. At every birthday party, he whispered in front of everyone, "Just 2 daughters, still practice material." Daniel tried to defend me, but under his father's pressure, all he could do was smile helplessly. I began meticulously collecting evidence. Every text, email, and recording was screenshot and backed up, organized by date. In my notebook, I wrote down Harold's words at family gatherings, guests' reactions, and the children's expressions. My fingers swiped across the phone screen, each item a token for revenge. Occasionally, Daniel looked at me, eyes full of questions, but I calmly told him, one day, he will pay for what he's done. Finally, the opportunity came. Thanksgiving dinner, Harold had had a few drinks and asked again, "Sarah still hasn't given me a real grandson. When will you continue the family name?" I stood, lightly tapping my knife and fork, smiling. "Actually, Harold, you're right. You do deserve a grandson." The room fell silent, the candlelight seeming to drain the air around us. I took out my phone and displayed the screen. Daniel's cousin Marcus and his husband just adopted a boy. He has the Brennan surname. Harold opened and closed his mouth, stammering, "This doesn't count." I smiled, "It does. He perfectly meets your requirements." I began reading aloud the texts, emails, and recordings from the past 7 years. "You said I was flawed, said my daughters were practice material, even suggested Daniel find a woman who could finish the job." The guests held their breath as Harold's face gradually shifted from red to purple, then pale, his hands trembling on the table. Daniel came to my side, holding me and the children. "We're already moving to Portland." The kids will grow up with Marcus's son. You can't stop us. Harold began stammering, shouting, You can't. I calmly flipped through my phone. 7 years, you missed every birthday, recital, and gathering. You ignored us the entire time. Rose stood and looked him straight in the eye. Grandpa, what you said was foolish. Lily added, You were always wrong. Patricia and Monica followed. You missed my PhD graduation because of Tyler's game. 10 years, you didn't attend Emma's dance recitals. The facts hit Harold like a flood. He trembled, eyes full of fear and regret. Memories surged. Harold mocked my daughter's Halloween costume as practice clothes, at birthday parties asked when a boy would be born, at family dinners, drunk, pointed at my stomach saying, This kid is practice, not your final delivery. I held back tears, recording every moment, knowing that one day, it would all rebound onto him. I calmly read every event he had missed, every family gathering, every birthday, every message. Guests tensed, Harold's voice began to shake. He tried to argue, This isn't fair. I smiled, It is fair. You paved the way for this yourself. Daniel held the children, I held Lily and Rose, showing Harold our future plan. We found a house. The kids will grow up with Marcus's son. You can't stop us. Harold gripped the table, face pale, trembling. How dare you? Rose looked at him firmly. Grandpa, what you did was wrong. Lily said, You've always been wrong. Patricia and Monica added, 10 years, you never did one thing to make a child happy. You missed graduations, recitals, every birthday. Harold shivered, eyes confused, like a candle flickering in the wind. After moving to Portland, our lives changed completely. Eleanor visits the children monthly, teaching them to make apple pie and recording their growth. Marcus's son treats my daughters as cousins. They teach him secret handshakes and how to protect him from bullies at school. Harold has never met this child, but I know he keeps the photo, replaying the 7 years of coldness and loss in lonely nights. My children run freely in the sunlight, laughter bright and unrestrained, while Harold can no longer control us. 7 years of humiliation and neglect were finally reversed in a calm, precise, and powerful act. He tried to manipulate our lives, and now he can only face loneliness and regret. Every time he attempts to contact Daniel, I simply show pictures of the children. He is left speechless. At that moment, I realized that true victory is not verbal revenge, but raising children in an environment of love, respect, and freedom. And Harold, faced with his past coldness and neglect, can only tremble and watch us, his obsession and loneliness forever locked in the past.